Welcome to Gun Talk Nation. This Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Loophole, Be Relentless, and by Springfield Armory. Also, Double Star. From rifles and handguns to lowers and uppers, blades, stocks, slings, and magazines, Double Star has you covered. Every rifle built by Double Star uses only U.S.-made parts, and their rifles have outperformed some of the most well-known rifles out there. Double Star also offers daily deals on everything from charging handles to pivot pins. And guess what? This isn't even in the script. I just found out.
Oh, no.
Special deal for you as a Gun Talk listener.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Nice.
Enter Gun Talk. Gun Talk. We should have called it Gun Tack. Dang it. Tactical. Gun Talk at checkout for 15%.
Off anything?
Yeah. Off your purchase.
Guns. Accessories.
Yeah.
Knives.
Your Oops kit. All that stuff, dude.
Yeah, Oops kit. Definitely needed.
When you're building those rifles, you got to have the Oops kit.
I've already had to use 2 of them.
Today on Gun Talk Nation, we got Caleb Giddings in. Welcome in, man.
What's up, guys? It's good to be here.
But who is Caleb Giddings?
Who is? Who am I?
Who am I indeed? Well, for people who are stuck on 10 years in the past, I was on the first season of History Channel's TV show Top Shot. And since then, I've worked full-time in the gun industry, doing everything from selling ads to media production, which is mostly what I do these days, which is writing articles, making videos, shooting matches, and teaching classes. It's, it's like I have 7 made-up jobs that I've turned into one real job.
And you're one of the people in the gun industry who actually shoots guns.
It is one of those weird superpowers that I have where I have to tell manufacturers if they send me a gun to review, like it's going to actually get shot, like more than a box of ammo. We're going to go try to break this thing and do some real shooting with it. But yeah, it's a lot of fun because I've always told people that I've been a shooter first and a media guy second.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I've said this on this show or something recently where I said not everyone in the gun industry are gunny shooter people.
Oh, gosh.
And that's okay. It means there are people who need to work in customer service or in graphic design or whatever. But it's kind of helpful when you actually do go shoot the products.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there's definitely a space for that. Like if I was running a gun company, we don't need to name one, but if I was running a gun company, I wouldn't necessarily want all of my marketing department to be gun people, but I would want to have one person in there so that when my marketing department has an idea, it could probably be a really good idea that taps into best practices and stuff like that. And then just run it by the gun guy to make sure it makes sense.
Right.
Is this
dumb?
Is this dumb? Are we showing a whole cartridge flying down range instead of just the projectile, things like that.
But sometimes they do not listen, even when solid advice is given.
That is also very true. My favorite ads, though, to this day are either the EAA ads, like the completely unhinged ones, like the chick with the gun leg.
The alien girl. Alien. Yes, totally.
That one. And then the Keltec ad they did 2-3 years ago where it was like, we made this rifle for people who drink their own pee. And it was like, literally, that was the ad.
And I'm going, so are they saying this is for me or not for me? I
really feel like it could be for me.
Do I have to start drinking my pee?
Is that like a prerequisite to buy the gun? I have to drink my own urine, or do I just would drink my urine if I had to survive? I don't understand these rules.
I think I would. I really think I would. To survive, I would absolutely totally drink it.
Because it's sterile and I like the taste.
Yeah. So he's had it before. I knew it. They did make that gun for him.
To survive and because I love it. Oh, wait.
He was gone for 2 hours. That's it. He was lost for 2 hours. He's already drinking his own pee.
They were marked trails.
I was getting dehydrated. You don't have to drink your pee on the first day.
Yeah.
Okay? Jeez.
It's like he was starting to look at who he was going to eat first on the season of Top Shot in case everything went to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah.
The PAs stopped bringing us food and we have to eat each other. Good Lord.
They got to kick up the storyline here.
Jeez,
man, that was wild. But yeah, the back to the firearms industry. it's been fun, and I really do. I enjoy what I do, and I'm especially at this point in my career where I get to do a lot of interesting things, and I get to kind of pick and choose the projects that I do. I don't have to like. There's a phase for everybody who does the media side where you're doing projects because you're getting paid to do them, and you need the money and you have to go through that, and you have to write your reviews about, whatever gun that kind of sucks, but you grit your teeth and get paid until you can get to the point where you get to do what I do, which is I really do get to pick and choose my products. And I also think I'm the first guest you've had on here who's shot KJ in the dick.
That is true.
Well, the question is, why are you aiming there? Is that a drill? Is that called?
We were really close. It was an accident.
I was at the low ready.
It was a pelvic shot.
No,
we were on a set of FPD, and Caleb was one of our good guys, and so I go to attack him, and man, he took it was the year of the crotch shot because I'd already taken one in the junk earlier that year, and he comes around and he takes my hand, pins it to my hip so I couldn't draw my gun,
right,
which gave him a perfect opportunity to shoot me right square in the nads.
It was center of mass of what you gave him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It was the available targeting.
Yeah.
It's a small target. He's a good shot. There's a reason why he's on Top Shot.
So when Caleb came down for FPD, I must have been out of town or something, but I was like, you guys got it. It'll be great. And they're like, so Caleb
was the bad
is a really bad guy. Do you mean he's evil? No, he's bad at being a bad guy.
Yes.
We have to explain on FPD, first person defender,
I guess supposed to lose.
the bad guy is supposed to be a bad guy. And we kind of make general assumptions about bad guys that they don't go to the range every week. They don't shoot, isosceles. They grab the gun one-handed and they yell obscenities and they shoot at people.
Yeah,
It's
which
kind of-
I'm really good at that.
Yeah.
That's where I kind of fall.
But it's hard to undo that practice, huh, Caleb?
It's not easy, and it's funny. It was it's not easy to do because I can tell you what was happening for me when I was playing the bad guy in that scenario is I understood that this girl was there to try to learn something and that sort of stuff. And there was a lesson to be taught, but also there was a gear in my brain, and legitimately I felt bad about this after the fact, but there's a gear in my brain that's like, you're also going to win, right? Like I'm not going to lose. I didn't show up here to lose. And when the host called Index, after I had shot the girl in the knee, the hands, and the face, I legitimately felt bad because I was like, that wasn't fair.
That wasn't
no,
even
not even remotely
little
close.
bit.
No,
like, that's not. And I mean, as as an episode goes, you can sort of draw something from it, like the parallel of here's what would happen if you happened to be attacked by somebody who actually is proficient and competent.
Yes,
a reason why you should go become proficient.
True.
And competent.
Yeah, and we try to tailor the scenario to our good guy participants. So if they're fairly trained up, we're going to try to give them more. We're going to maybe have more trained up bad guys or two bad
guys.
You
guys threw all kinds of curveballs at me.
Yeah. Oh, we had to.
Yeah. So this you think about this stuff and you shoot a lot and all that.
So we have to figure out a way to trip him up. But the episode where he is the bad guy, let's preface this by it was a conference room setting, and I had already been the bad guy on the first episode. So he kind of, to mix it up, I ran in and, on the second scenario, I ran in and we wanted to get her reaction like, oh my gosh, there's the bad guy. But then he follows me after that, comes down the hallway, and he goes tactical.
Tactical Tommy.
He goes off on this poor girl. Yep. He comes down the hallway, pies the doorway, and is getting shots on her quicker than she can get to her position of dominance in the doorway.
Right. The thing that we taught her to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he was already there, and his first shots were already on target before she got in a position to shoot, and he kept coming, and she ducks her head. Mistake number one, never take your eyes off of Caleb Giddings because he will shoot you in the face about 7 times.
Only 5 or 6, but the thing that I distinctly remember was she ran out and she went to do a reload, and she kind of smartly got behind cover to do a reload, but she left her thigh, she left this much of her knee and upper thigh poking out from behind
About the size of a softball.
And I was like, all right, hang on. Bap, bap, bap. And I shot her in the leg 3 times.
Yeah, it was sticking out.
And leaned forward. And that was when I just kind of came into the room and he was like, this is now a murder.
Not good.
What was funny was I was going to start, after I shot her, if the host hadn't called Index, I was just going to start shooting other people in the room. Just be like,
thank goodness, because I was second right behind her. Thank goodness he called it.
Well, in all seriousness, and to your point, Caleb, in all seriousness, we do kind of make those assumptions where really we shouldn't, about bad guys are lazy, bad guys don't train, and all this stuff. And that's not always the case.
It isn't.
One of the biggest one that we hear about, and we're still hearing about decades later, is the FBI a shootout in Miami, where the bad guys, they weren't SEAL Team 6, but they went to the range and they trained, and they were prepared, and they had a mindset of, I ain't going back to jail. I'm going to shoot my way out of this thing. That's it.
I'm taking people with me.
Yeah. So it went bad.
And stuff like that is a big why. I'm a huge proponent of training, a force-on-force training, classes like ECQC by Craig Douglas, stuff like that, where you're training against people who are at or above your skill level. It's a reason why, competition shooting, especially when you're really trying hard to win, is because when you put yourself in a scenario where failure is possible, where you're training to defeat somebody who is better than you or faster than you or stronger than you, what that does is, if your defensive gun use situation is against, Ray and Ice Dog, and they're just going to hold their guns like this, you've put yourself in a much better strategic situation because you're training to beat Goliath, but instead you just had to fight some regular guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fair. It's
an interesting thought process to go through, because he hits on a lot of good points there, because it's the mentality of preparing yourself to be engaged in those situations, which I think that gets lost is when someone goes hands on with you, there's an adrenaline dump that you do not experience at the range.
Nope.
Right. True.
Never.
True. Well, and also, we've said this before, is a lot of people who at least get to the point of thinking about my gunfight. But the problem is, a lot of them think about it all going really well, and I'm going to do this, and then they're going to come in, they're going to be like, wow, that was awesome, high five.
The cops run in and say,
here's the key to the city.
Here's the Jolly Rancher,
nice shot,
sucker.
Dude.
Yeah, and that's not really how it may go. You may, fumble your draw, trip over the curb, there happens to be 3 other buddies who are, jumping on you. You never know.
Mm-hmm. And then I do have to caveat that with the flip side of it is, it's also unrealistic for me to have the expectations that some guy with a 9-to-5 job and 2 kids and all of the other, and he likes football and golf and all of that other stuff, and he wants to carry a gun to protect his family. It's unrealistic of me to place the same level of expectation on him that I have on myself, because this is my job. It's not just my job in the firearms industry, but also, as a member of the military, I'm expected to deploy, I'm expected to carry a gun and be proficient with it for all of those things. So there has to be balance, right? I can't expect everybody to, take 4 shooting classes a year, practice jiu-jitsu once a week, and do all of these other things. But also at the same time, I feel like you could probably do more than get your carry permit and then never go practice.
Right. Do nothing else. Yeah. So one thing I wanted to talk with Caleb about today is we've known each other for a while, and I see your stuff on social media. You always have struck me as the guy who you just like to do stuff different. Like, for instance, carry a revolver with a red dot on it, you freaking goofball. Just because I just want to be different.
You know, that's kind of back to what I was talking about earlier with I get to do things that I want to do now and do things that interest me. And you have done this too. There is a certain point where I can only shoot so many polymer frame striker fired 9mm guns, or I can only shoot so many AR-15s, and until they kind of just they all sort of run together. Mm-hmm. You know, it takes something really interesting it takes something special for a gun to be interesting, and Glocks are great. Rugers are great. The friggin' SIGs are great. Like, basically, it's a symptom of what I call the golden age of handguns, right? If tomorrow morning the Air Force told me, and I've said this before, if tomorrow morning the Air Force told me, hey, the next time you go on a deployment, at the start of the deployment, we're going to put an HK-VP9, Walther CCP, Gen 5 Glock, SIG 320, and M&P. We're going to put all those in a bag, and we're going to shake it up, and you just got to grab it. Whichever one you grab, you have to carry for this whole deployment. I wouldn't really care. Like, they're not the same, but they're all designed to do the same thing. You know, they're all designed to be, exactly. They all work. Like, you can go and buy, you know, Beretta is selling the APX for like $380, and it works great. I've got one with 5,000 rounds on it. So it's not that there's anything wrong with these guns, but they're all kind of the same. So I've been shooting revolvers for a really long time, all the way, I spent 4 years really getting serious about it. I took some time off from revolver shooting because I had some deployments, I had some military stuff, and I also really wanted to go get a fast coin from Ernest Langdon. So you really needed a semi-auto to do that. But I kind of have come back to the whole revolver thing. And then I was talking to Scott Jedlinski at the Modern Samurai Project about red dots and stuff like that, and how, because there's no reciprocating mass on a wheel gun, theoretically the dot might even be more effective because it's not moving anywhere other than just a little bit up and down in recoil. So then I broke my arm in a scooter accident, and I had a lot of free time on my hands to come up with dumb ideas. And I ordered a bunch of parts, ordered a couple of guns, and now I have 2 Smith & Wesson L frames with aim point acros mounted on them.
Beware of free time.
Yeah.
See?
Too much free time, especially for Caleb Giddings.
So have you figured out a verdict yet as far as, is it true? I mean, the red dot on a revolver, you don't have the slide reciprocating and all that?
I haven't yet, because as it turns out, it takes a long time for bones to heal, which was a surprise for me. I was like, what? I'm not Wolverine. I'm not 23 anymore either. I think it's more the not 23 part that really got me. But I've really been sidelined. I've only got 250 rounds through one of these guns. But I've got some matches this weekend. I can finally move my left arm around again, which is nice. I've got some matches this weekend. And then in November, I'm going back to Florida for a 3-day pistol class where everyone else will have semi-autos with red dots, and I'll have the wheel guns. So
that'll be interesting.
I got a grip of speed loaders. My belt looks like a Christmas tree full of speed loaders for this thing. Hey, and they're 7-shot guns, so I'm not going to be, I hope there's one guy with an old 1911 there just so I can keep up with him.
Totally. Yes.
So what's your practice been like? I mean, I know with the broken bone, you haven't been able to get a lot of practice in live fire, but have you been doing anything as far as like dry fire and practice reloads and all that?
So for people who don't follow me on social media, what I did was I had a fracture of the humerus where the top of the circular part of the bone peeled back like a tuna can. And then I had another fracture that went through it. So for about 2 months, I couldn't move my arm more than like yay high. So I really wasn't doing much of anything. Before that, and before ammo got crazy, I was shooting about 1,000 rounds a month, working on everything. And now that I'm finally back to being able to move, what I'm really taking the opportunity to do is focus on eliminating wasted movement from my draw and from my reload, because there's an opportunity, since my arm kind of has to like learn how to do stuff again. There's an opportunity for me to clean up some of the junk that's introduced itself into my draw over the years.
Yeah. Yeah, we were just talking about that because we haven't released the video yet, but it'll be coming out probably this week or something. There's a part in a video. We were at it was a media event, but out at Gunsight. But we had a couple pro shooters, Jesse and Casey, and they did a little bit of training. And it's so funny to me when I watch good, pro shooters doing their thing. They don't look like what our tactical shooters look like. They're totally relaxed. There's no, and I made fun of myself doing this. There's no tactical turtle. They're not sticking their necks forward and hunching and all this stuff. And it's wasted movement. Again, going back to what you're talking about,
Well, and it's funny. One of the things that I talk about a lot and I've been talking about is for the longest time, shooting was the only athletic endeavor where we treated it like everything else we've learned about athleticism somehow magically doesn't apply when you have a gun in your hands. Huh. And, and that's how you ended up with guys like, with how you ended up with things like the tactical turtle and stuff like that, where people are trying to fight the way the body wants to work to try to create efficiency, when if you actually work with the way the body wants to work, you get more efficient, which is why if you look at guys like Max or JJ or KC, they all stand the same way. They all hold the gun the same way. Everybody has individual variations to account for different, parts of your physique. Just like every NFL quarterback throws the ball a little bit differently, but right. at the fundamental level, they're all trying to do the same thing. Yeah. And for the longest time in the shooting sports, we were like, no, let's lock our elbows and bury our heads. And I'm like, what other sport do you lock your elbows?
Right. Yeah. I mean, for someone listening, what we're talking about is those pro shooters, they stand up fairly straight. Oh, yeah. Fairly, I would say, relaxed. They don't look like they're fighting the gun to try to control recoil, because if you're shooting like most regular guns, a 9mm semi-auto, there's not a lot of recoil to fight. I mean, honestly, there's not. I mean, we try to introduce new shooters and teach them all this stuff, and it's important to know how to manage recoil. But I mean, it's not. Yeah. You look at videos and people we know who are 10, 11-year-old girls shooting full-size 9mm pistols very well. And so therefore, I think an adult can handle it.
I would say so. Probably. I would hope so. Jeez. Yeah.
What are you going to do about that? It always cracks me up when I see people like taking like a super aggressive stance with a 9mm or like a 5.56 or something. And I'm like, what do you do it with all that recoil, buddy? And I can understand it if you're shooting a 12 gauge, but even then, if you're using good fundamentals, like my stance shooting a carbine versus shooting a 12 gauge is I maybe lean into the gun a little bit more with a 12 gauge, just because I know 12 gauge kind of 12 gauge.
Yeah. Yeah. It's got a 12 gauge.
It's 12 gauge. It's got a 12 gauge.
When you rip off that Sega.
Yeah.
No, I'm all Beretta for my shotguns, man. I got that 1301 tactical.
Yeah.
That is really, I mean, and I don't even like shotguns that much, but I like this shotgun.
Well, it's kind of hard to argue about shotguns and Beretta. They sort of have been doing this for a really, really, really long time.
Yeah.
They really.
Beretta is the oldest. What's the deal, Caleb? The oldest
weapons maker,
manufacturer in the world. Family owned.
They're the oldest existing corporation in the world. Like that's what they say on their website. Is they're the oldest continuously existing corporation, and I guarantee that when this airs, if I got that wrong, I'm going to get a text.
But yeah, it's about 500 years old.
Yeah, they were incorporated in like 15. Hang on, wait.
Oh no,
I'm gonna say 1526.
Fact checker.
Yeah, hang on. And
I mean, they were making swords. I mean, that's the deal. They were making swords and Beretta arms.
1526. I got it.
Woo!
He did. He got it right.
All right, I'm going to go for 1,000, Alex. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, we're almost at 500 years at this point, 6 more years. That's impressive. They probably have paid off the building by now. What do you think?
Maybe. It's
crazy.
Apparently they have a lovely facility Italy. There's like a river that runs through it in between the old factory and the new factory, and there's like a glass catwalk. I've never been, Beretta, what the hell? But
I'm available.
Bring gun talk
anytime.
I'm available for international travel once the COVID is over.
I'm available anytime.
Even then, I'm headed out.
We'll bring cameras and stuff.
I'd risk it.
Yeah, totally. I'll wear 2
Ooh,
masks.
how cool would that be to send a camera with Caleb Giddings and Ryan Gresham to the Beretta factory?
When
That
it'd
would
be
be
like
pretty cool.
we're just drinking wine.
Yeah.
You know,
I know what you would be
smoking
doing.
cigars.
Yeah.
Drinking wine, smoking cigars, and playing with
And-
$35,000 shotguns.
And riding Vespas.
Yes. Riding Vespas. Absolutely. Hey,
Caleb's
that's
like,
where
welcome to my world.
Yeah.
it's culturally acceptable there.
Real men ride Vespas and shoot $35,000 shotguns. Yeah, totally.
And drink
That's
wine.
the most Italian thing I can imagine, actually.
Double E, double L grade. That's what I'm talking about.
Man, there is actually a really cool, and it's something people don't know. So if you go to New York City in Manhattan off of, I want to say Madison is the Beretta store
Yeah, Beretta
that they
Gallery.
have there. Yep. The Beretta Gallery in Manhattan is amazing. They have one of Ernest Hemingway's shotguns. They have a collection of, some of their guns that aren't even finished being made. They've still got because the stock doesn't get finished until the customer orders it.
Right.
So they can hand fit the stock to the customer. And I was there, and they let me touch and let me hold Hemingway's shotgun. And it was one of those moments where it's like, do you guys know who I am? Because if you did, you wouldn't let me do this.
I hope
put
they
some
don't find
gloves
out.
on or something.
Yeah, the Beretta galleries are super cool. I think they've got the Manhattan one. I want to say they've got one in Dallas, maybe, or they used to. I know they used to.
I think so. They're doing a thing right now where they're doing like pop-up galleries in like malls and stuff like that. And obviously there's no guns, but you can go buy a $500 hunting shirt, which is handmade Italian hunting shirt, which was a thing I didn't know existed, but is cool.
Yeah. And what's interesting about, I think, Beretta, and you mentioned the pistols earlier, but they make everything. They make rifles, shotguns, pistols. And sometimes I feel like the pistols aren't maybe as top of mind for people, even though there's the Beretta 92, which is, they should be very top of mind for people.
When you say Beretta, yeah, but mostly it's shotguns. I mean, that's what I think.
Well, and it's funny because shotguns are definitely like what I think if they could only make one thing, they would make shotguns, because sometimes I get the sense that they make all of this other stuff and sell it so that they can fund their expensive shotgun business.
Sure. Oh, totally. Yeah. Well, we need to make money. So,
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's funny because I think like with the 92 especially, I think the 92 has enjoyed a little bit of a renaissance in the past few years, which is driven by people my age, your early global war on terror veterans who are out of the military and were experiencing, or for the guys who are out now, are experiencing a little bit of nostalgia and stuff like that. So you've seen 92s are selling really well. And for the first time in years, there's upgraded versions of the 92. You've got the ones that Langdon Tactical are making. Beretta's got the new 92X series and all of that. So if you like DASA guns, then it's a really good time to go buy a Beretta.
Yeah.
I didn't get paid to say that.
Got that in there.
Not at all.
He got that in there. So tell us about the new movie that you're here to promote. No, I'm just kidding.
It's called Beretta, a story of gun makers.
Yeah, it's a movie called Me and Ugo.
Yeah. That would actually be entertaining.
Me and Ugo, Caleb and Ugo Beretta holding hands, walking through the village in Italy.
They just go around to all the Beretta galleries together.
That's right.
And they slow motion walk out of every single one of them.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And right away in Vespas.
All right. So what is, you said you got some like new cool things. Anything that's new cool that you can talk about interesting lately?
New cool stuff that I'm working on personally. We've got obviously I have these 2 red dot revolvers that we're going to be shooting and just kind of working through as proof of concept. And then once I get everything settled here in South Carolina, so We just moved to South Carolina, which means I've got to get a new driver's license, a new carry permit, and find a new FFL, and all of that other stuff. We've got a project that we're going to be working on with Colt where we're going to actually do a little bit of myth busting about modern manufacturing techniques. Because one of the things, some of the feedback they've gotten about the new Python is, oh, it's made with MIM and blah, 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 and all of this other stuff. And what people don't understand is the reason why a lot of older guns like Pythons and 1911s and guns that were made in the 50s and 60s were extensively hand fitted was because they didn't have machines that could hold, 0.000001 centimeter worth of tolerance.
Yep.
So we have these machines now that can hold tighter tolerances and make a better part than any, shaky, semi-alcoholic Connecticut factory worker could.
You're hungover.
So
the Pythons today aren't going to be that great. I mean, they're hand fitted because they had to hand fit them because the original pieces weren't that precise.
So we're going to get some Pythons and I'm going to do what I'm known to do to guns. And that's, we're going to shoot the crap out of them. I'm going to dive into my extensive stash of 38 and 357. We've got write-ups planned for Shooting Illustrated for that. So it should be pretty interesting as a project, especially for me, because I've always loved the mystique of the Colt revolvers. But, and there was that long time where there was nothing coming out of there. And so to see that line come back and to see it come back in a way that's affordable, it's $1,500 for a new gun versus $3,500 for a gun that someone's going to put in a glass display box. It's great. And, we had the whole talk with Colt and we're going to beat him up and see what happens.
Cool. It's nice when a company will let you do that type of stuff, when you have a creative, fun idea and it may be like, hey, we're going to try this out. And they seem to have, the confidence of, yeah, totally.
That's what it is. Mm-hmm. They've got confidence in what they're doing now. So why not just give it to Caleb?
I promised them I wasn't going to
let Caleb get it.
Yeah.
I promised I wasn't going to hit it with a car or anything. So, I'm like, but it is interesting. And to your point, I always like it when companies are like, yeah, try to break our gun, see what happens.
Mm-hmm. I think sometimes they're curious too.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They're like, yeah, I'd like to know what happens with this.
Is the regular Joe going to actually do all this to his gun?
Not usually.
No, but it's kind of like that whole idea of training to fight Goliath. If a gun can survive me shooting it, then the average Python guy who wants to buy a new Python, because so your user profile for that is definitely somebody who he either has aspirations of owning a Python because he sees it as a Halo brand, or he has an old Python, doesn't want to shoot it, but wants that similar experience. Right. So regardless, if that gun can go through the schedule of rounds that we have planned for it, then your average Python guy is going to be happy. And it also gives me a chance to help educate people about why we can make guns that are more reliable and better for cheaper than we used to.
Yeah, it truly is the golden age of gun making right now. We've got a lot of cool stuff and a lot of quality. Yeah. A lot of quality. Caleb, thanks for being on with us, man.
Oh, I had a question for you guys first. Because I know you're in tight with Springfield. Tell me about their new bolt gun. Literally just flashed across my social a couple of days ago. And I was like, Springfield's making a bolt gun?
I know. I know. It was, and I will say, here's the honest truth to it is when they talked about this, you're like, okay. And then they go,
but it's going to be really good.
And we're bringing out the fanciest one first. So it's going to be kind of pricey. And you're like, ooh, man, I think people are going to be like, Springfield, I don't know if I'll pay $2,000 for a Springfield armory gun. But honestly...
$2,000 for a good bolt gun is cheap.
Exactly.
That's it.
But
a lot of people won't see it that way.
And I was like, this is a pretty nice gun. I mean,
nice. The gun is.
It's really nice.
It's worth it. It's
absolutely.
They've missed the price point on it, I feel.
You think they should have charged more?
They could have charged more. Yeah. And I tell you, this is one of those guns. If it goes away, guys are going to be like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have bought one.
Right.
If you're in the market for it, I mean, why not? Yeah.
If you want to step up to something that's a little bit nicer than your regular, beat around bolt gun. This is a nice one. Yeah. Yeah. We liked it. It's lightweight. It's like
Yeah.
6.5 pounds ish. And so when we walked all over Wyoming with it,
Yeah.
and that was nice to have.
Oh yeah.
And it's super accurate. Good trigger, smooth bolt. I mean, it's just there were sometimes with those different guns, you have weird stuff like, well, the bolt it is not smooth, or the magazine release it's finicky, or the mag going in is finicky. But we didn't have anything like that with this, which is good. You shouldn't if it's a $2,000, $2,500 gun.
It seems like a gun made by hunters,
right?
From a company not known for making hunting guns.
That being said, for people listening who maybe don't realize this, there are a bunch of people at Springfield now who are hunters.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. And I think they may have been looking for an excuse to do more hunting stuff personally, which is fine. But
guys, let's make a gun so we can go to Wyoming for 2 weeks.
Right? Yes. That might have been part of the motivation there, but it turned out to be a really nice gun they produced. So works for me.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're liking it. So, well, thanks, man. Thanks for being on.
Yeah, man, for sure. It's good to be talking to people.
How do people find out more about what you're up to?
The easiest way is to follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/Caleb Shooting. We post a lot of the stuff that I'll post gets cross-posted there. You can subscribe to me on YouTube at Gun Nuts Media, or follow me on Instagram if you like photos of just random gun photos and photos of my scooter. So that's at Radicaleb with an underscore, RADICALEB. The underscore is important.
Yes.
All right, cool.
You don't want to go visit any other sites.
No,
I don't know what you'll find out there.
There's a dude who got like the Radicaleb screen name, and it's like some 12-year-old kid or something who really likes weed. So, I mean, follow him if you want, but
if you want good quality, wholesome gun.
Hey, don't you say wholesome to me. That is not an accurate
that's not part of my brand.
I think you're wholesome.
All right, that's it for us. I guess we'll see you next time.
Yes,
Gun Talk
we will.
Nation. Thank you.